So I think, the fact that you incurred the debt for a good purpose is why it's good debt. So it's a wise investment is what I would call it, more than anything. It's not an immediate gratification type of purchase, like going out and buying a car and incurring $50,000 worth of debt to have a new car. It's more of an investment to invest in your future, because that debt for education is going to lead to a higher income than you would have been able to attain with just a high school education. I would say, the best thing to do is to pay off the loans, because you're right. If you don't pay it off, if you default on it, that's definitely going to affect your credit history or your credit score. So the best advice I would have is to make sure you pay off the loan. Now, they do have different payment plans that you can take advantage of, and depending on your income, they can work with you to determine what your payments would be on a monthly basis, something that you can actually afford, not too high of a payment. So work with the loan provider to make sure that you're paying off the loan, but it's not too much of a premium, or excuse me, not a premium, too much of a payment where you can't handle it. It's all going to depend on how much debt you actually incurred and what your monthly payment is. The interest rate also is going to have a big, it's going to play a big factor as well. So depending on the person's situation, they could be paying for upwards of 10, 20, sometimes I've seen 30 years, a person paying on their college debt. And a lot of times you hear the stories of doctors that have hundreds of thousands of college debt, and it could be a situation where they're paying on it 10, 20, and sometimes 30 years. The thing that we try to recommend is being proactive. So a lot of times, parents are able to help their students out when the child is young. 7 out of 10 people don't know that there's a product out there called the 529 plan. So Edward Jones recently did a survey, and the result was that 7 out of 10 people weren't familiar with the 529 plan. So the 529 plan is just a tool that you can use. It's an investment where parents can save over time for their child's college education. And that would be our biggest recommendation, is to avoid the whole debt debacle by planning early and saving while the child is young, whether it be a 529 plan or a custodian account, or even through a Roth IRA, something like that. The 529 plan, you can use any state's plan, and as long as you use the proceeds towards a higher education expense, then your growth will be tax-free. So it's going to defer the growth, and then you get to use it tax-free. Another benefit would be, if you're in a state that charges state tax, you can have a deduction on your state tax for using that state's plan, depending on, if you use that state's plan and you're a resident of that state. But of course, in Texas, we don't have a state tax, so we don't have to worry about that. I would say definitely talk with the counselors that are available, the financial counselors, and explore all options before pulling the trigger on actually taking out a loan. There may be a grant that's available. There could be work study that's available to you. Scholarships, of course, everyone knows about scholarships, but there's scholarships out there for being left-handed, or just random things like that. So just really do research to find out if there's a scholarship that you qualify for, or a grant, or if there's a work study program. And those would be the first things I would go to before going to a loan. Now, if you do have to, after exploring all those options, if you do have to take out a loan, then I would say just work hard to take only the amount that you need. A lot of times we've seen people take the maximum amount just because that's what's been offered to them. Well, if your tuition's only going to cost you $2,000 or $5,000, whatever the amount may be, well, you don't need to take out $20,000 to pay $5,000 or to pay $2,000. So only take out the amount, the bare minimum you need to take care of your expense. So I would say is to shop around interest rates to find the lowest interest rate possible, because when you have a higher rate, that's more likely going to be a longer payback period of time. So we talked about some people paying 30 years. Well, if they would have been on a lower interest rate plan, maybe that would have brought it down to 20 years and not had to pay as long. So that's definitely a good idea to shop around for the lowest rate possible. And a fixed rate is also what I would recommend as well. One strategy would be, the debt snowball. A lot of times people have taken Dave Ramsey courses for debt consolidation or debt elimination. And one of the things that he suggests is the debt snowball. And that's basically paying off those loans that have the highest interest rate first. and then work down to the lowest ones. So if you have multiple loans, you want to knock out those high interest rate loans first. And then also I would say, again, don't delay the gratification. So don't go out and purchase more things just because of your first job. Go ahead and pay off the loans first. Hang on to that car 1 or 2 more years and then pay off the college debt first. If you pay more than the minimum, then you'll end up paying less in the end, because you're not going to pay as much in interest as was projected with the normal payments that they are suggesting. So you can definitely cut your time down by paying more, as well as the amount that you're going to have to pay in general down.